In this video, we're talking on the subject of raising up digital missionaries. I once heard this amazing quote that says, social media is not a task to be finished, but it's actually a ministry to serve in. And so a lot of the things that we talked about is, okay, what channels do we post on? What to post? How do we build a social media calendar? We talked about this idea of adding value first, stopping the scroll, grabbing attention, pointing attention to Jesus so we can ultimately fulfill the Great Commission. Now, this is a lot of good stuff, and this is a lot of great work, and great work takes a lot of people, right? It takes a lot of great people to do it even better. Now, you might be scared listening to that because you're like, oh, I'm like a one-man team right now. No one can really do it how I do it. People aren't really committed. I don't have budget to pay somebody, right? Well, I believe that part of social media and digital is to also raise up people to help you do it. It's actually a great discipleship tool as well, where you can invite people onto the journey and you can disciple them through serving within social media. So that's why in this video, I want to talk about how do we raise up digital missionaries, right? Now, what exactly is a digital missionary? I believe a digital missionary is simply somebody who is on mission to reach people for Jesus just using digital, right? Now, the best thing about this idea of digital missionaries, as we established before, churches as a whole today, we have a huge opportunity to reach people all across the globe and even in our own backyard. The result of this is more people will engage with your church, more people will engage with your ministry, but most importantly, more people will be pointed to Jesus. But in this video, I want to hone in on this idea of raising up digital missionaries, how to do it, right? How to essentially build a volunteer team. How to develop people. The first thing I want to say is before you get somebody to start doing the task, it's important for you to set the vision, right? It's important for you to understand why are we doing this, right? And that's why I consistently use this language of we're raising up digital missionaries so we can fulfill the Great Commission. So the number one thing that you want to do first is set the vision. Pastor, before you tell them to make the post, before you tell them to make you some graphics, tell them why they're doing it. One good book that I've read before is by a guy named Simon Sinek. It's called Start With Why, right? Now, just from a leadership standpoint, because you are a leader now if you're trying to raise up people, from a leadership standpoint, it's always important to start with why. I would also recommend that within your church's next steps, right? And if your church doesn't have a next steps process, I would highly recommend you guys check out Church Brand Guide. Michael Prasad does an amazing job talking about building a brand for your church. By the way, your church already has one. It's just, is it by design or by default, right? But check out Church Brand Guide, and he does a great job talking about the taking people through a process, taking people through an engagement journey, right? Same thing for me. I talk about how do you take somebody from being a stranger to a spectator, from a spectator to a participator, from a participator to a champion, right? So that's the same thing that we're talking about here when we say we're raising up digital missionaries. We are trying to figure out how do we take people along the journey with us. So now they're just not a spectator, but they're participating. And now not just participating, but championing what we're doing. So in order for us to do this, we need to set the vision. And I believe that really should start, again, in your next steps process, right? I know at my church, they tell you about the different teams that are available for people to serve in once they come in, right? And maybe for you, there's a certain discipleship process that they have to go through, but it's just very, very important that in role where you're trying to raise people up, the first thing that you want to do is set the vision. Clearly tell them, why are we doing this? And then also make sure that person understands your values. Your values aren't what you do. Your values will dictate who you are, and find unique opportunities to consistently bring up your values. Now, what that does is that puts the person at the right frame of mind, right? Because they understand who you are. They understand the culture. They understand your values. Maybe at your church, excellence is one of your values. You guys want to be an excellent church. You want to do things very well. So it's very important as you're trying to raise up volunteers that they know the vision, and they know why they're doing it. Now, the next question is, why would somebody want to serve in social media? One of the things that I think of is it's a great way for people who have unique schedules that are not always able to maybe serve on an early Sunday morning or a late Sunday afternoon. It gives people another outlet for them to serve, right? It gives people another opportunity for them to be a part of what your ministry is doing. So now the question becomes, okay, how do we find these people? Well, one, we talked about the next steps process. But another way that you can find great people, or you can recruit people, is for you to identify who's engaging with the content. Like, who do you see, like, when they come to service, they're taking nice pictures, like they're engaged, right? Like, you have to have the ability to see things in people that they haven't necessarily seen for themselves yet. Right? So just identify, like, who are people that's always engaging with their social media? Who are people that are always commenting? Who are people that are always sharing? You know, I love the people that go to churches and, like, the whole time, like, they have their phone and they're like live streaming the whole service for, like, their own friends and family, right? Like, I love those people. Like, how can you identify those type of people at your church or in your ministry, and then get them back and invite them to be a part of what you're doing, right? And the message can be something like as simple as, hey, we see that you engage a lot. I think you'd be a really great fit for this. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Let me know if that's something of interest for you. Like, right? It's a very simple and easy conversation to have, right? But you want to identify people who already have interest. Now, these people don't necessarily need to be social media influencers. They don't always necessarily have to be a Gen Zer. They don't necessarily have to know all of the social media marketing tips and tricks, right? But they just need to have a heart for God's word. They need to have the understanding of your culture, your vision, your values, right? And all of that stuff could be developed, right? But just those two things, when you can identify people who already have interests, right, in that realm, whether they know it or they don't yet, right? If you can identify people and you can bring them along the journey, I think that's a great win right there, right? And remember, again, it gives people an opportunity to serve in an area where they might have not even been able to serve in another. And then the next thing that you want to do is you also want to make sure that before you bring in somebody else, you have a plan in place. You have a plan for what they're doing. One of the things that you'll always constantly hear me say is if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So identify, what is this person going to be doing, right? Maybe on a Sunday, they're taking photos, or maybe they're on their phone, they have an iPhone, and they're just taking little video snapshots of the Sunday experience. Now with tools like Instagram Reel templates, it's easy for a church to just put in their videos and the templates edit them for you, right? But more importantly, again, more than what they're doing, the task that they're doing, allow them to see this as ministry, right? And you have to kind of you need to have this approach of like, follow me, right? Follow me. First, you can watch me do it. Second, I will do it with you. And then third, you'll do it on your own. So whatever that may be. So to answer this question of how do you raise up digital missionaries, it's the first thing is you want to be able to set the vision. You want to first clearly know, like, why is it? And to me, the clear vision is we want to point people to Jesus. We want to leverage digital to fulfill the Great Commission. And we want to take them from being a stranger to a spectator, from a spectator to a participator, from a participator to a champion, right? We want to get them to go deeper as it relates to discipleship. So that's the vision. That is the why. Second, it's, okay, how are we going to identify these people? We're going to look for people either through our Next Steps class or Next Steps journey, or we're gonna look for people that are already interested. The people that are taking pictures on a Sunday, the people that are maybe live streaming the service themselves, the people that are kind of in the space, right? You want to invite them into the conversation. Third, you want to model for them exactly what they'll be doing, right? You want to show them what they'll be doing, and that can be anything from scheduling social media posts, or even as simple as using something like a Google Doc, right, to just make a list of potential posts. It can even be somebody that just follows up with people to capture testimonials, right? So before this video, I talked about exactly how to create a content calendar in the last video that I did. Now, in that whole process of creating a content calendar, one of the things that you can do is you can make a list of everything that you do within that process, and then just start them off at maybe the top of the process with the easiest task, and slowly start moving them along the process, right? Next thing you know, you have a person that they clearly know what they're doing, and they know why they're doing it, and they're committed to doing it, right? And a lot of times this doesn't really take hiring on a staff person. You can do it through volunteers. Now, maybe you are a medium-sized church, and you want to identify an individual that you can maybe pay. I would say before considering going and trying to hire full-time staff, identify a good service that can do it for you. For example, at Hallelujah Social, we have a monthly subscription that churches pay for, where you get basically unlimited designs, and every single 24 hours you're getting a new design. Or we do the same thing for video. Maybe it's hiring Church Brand Guide, and they go through the whole entire branding process for you, right? So there are resources out there, right? You just have to be prepared to start creating a plan, start getting people involved. One of the things too is if you just want somebody to talk to about this, I encourage you to just email hello@canvaforchurches.com, and someone from our team will get you on a call where you maybe talk to me or somebody else. That just talks you through that process of how to raise up digital missionaries. But again, it's when we bring people into what we're doing, we open up our ability to have impact, right? Now, there's a lot of different things of what we can do to build different teams, but the most important thing in the process is, again, setting the vision, having them understand why and what they're doing. Once they understand why and what they're doing, you want to model that for them. You want to model that for them. You want to do it for them. You want to do it with them, and then you want to watch them do it, right? And then from there is the last thing I would say is identify good resources that you can connect them to. You can use canvaforchurches.com as a free resource. There are tons of free resources out there. Identify some and just give them a resource library that they can choose from. And here's something else to remember is if they can do the task 50% as good as you, then that's all that matters, right? And you just want to train them up and develop them up ahead of time. So, hey, thank you for watching this video. We want to encourage you, dive deep as it relates to the social media thing. There's a huge opportunities right now for churches to raise up digital missionaries and fulfill the Great Commission. Thanks for watching.